Mind, how are you, dude? All right. So, FM, can you just do me a favor? Just gonna try a few different audio settings. Can you just tell me which one's best? This is number one. Number two. Number two. Number two. Number three. Number three. Number four. Number four. Which one's best? Sounds the same. Okay. We have number one then. Yeah, I thought so. All right, nice. So let's get into it then. Right. So, okay, so we're gonna go through market review here. Yeah, this stream was meant to be about patience, sitting on your hands, knowing when not to action, but it seems like conditions are changing, and yeah, as a result, we may get much spicier conditions, right? We may get much spicier conditions, and off the back of that, yeah, it may be time to start picking up the cadency of trades. So we're going to go through a market review, classic market review style like we did last week. Just be aware, take everything I say with a bucket of salt, okay? And I say that intentionally, not a grain of salt, a bucket of salt, because we will be going through things in a sort of slightly predictory style of and nature, which is not my forte, number one. And you know, anyone that claims they can rub the crystal ball is probably someone that you should be very careful of listening to. You know, we're basically just going to look at the charts as we see them. We can make some loose predictions, put together some loose ideas about what we think price may do. But to give an example of what I'm talking about, this ETH price action here, hold my hands in the air and say that I put out a tweet the other day saying this looks grim in this sort of area here. 8-hour awesome oscillator divergence against price, and you know, even speaking to a lot of traders off socials as well, you know, a lot of people were saying that in this area here, even before that green candle, right, in this area here, ETH was looking rough, okay? And that was what my gut was telling me, right? ETH looks rough here. Probably cooked, right? Probably cooked in this area. Taking out this high here is the much weaker market versus BTC, and generally looks like shit, right? It looked awful in this place. But there's a massive difference between thinking and feeling something and actioning it, okay? And that's a point that I really want to start this stream off with, to be honest, because it's clearly a distinction that not many people realize. And the only way that you will advance is by understanding it, really. You know, you can throw darts at a board all day long, right, and hoping that they hit. But ultimately, as traders, what we do is just follow a systematic process, right? We're looking for reliable, recognizable, repeatable strategies and occurrences in the market that are pattern based, and when we see them, we action. It's as simple as that, okay? And if we don't get those signals, then we don't action. So yes, although ETH looked crap to me here, I wasn't in a position, right? I didn't take the trade. The last stream that we went through, I even covered this, right? You can refer to the last stream, and in my Discord group, I said, you know, my systematic process has kept me out of ETH. If it does nuke from here, then I'll note it in my journal, and If that occurrence happens multiple times, then perhaps I need to tweak my system. I've run through with you guys blindingly bright here. My type form. This is essentially my system, and I go through a process which I have to basically get to the end of this system, blah blah blah, to action the position, and essentially that kept me out of this ETH trade. And you don't have to be something as fancy as Typeform. It can be a simple Word doc. It can be just pen and paper. You have to meet certain requirements, certain criteria to be in your trades, and essentially moving into an area with your trading where you do become hyper systematic and mechanical it's going to serve you so well in the markets. Like, I need to emphasize that over and over again, because it takes all of this out, right? This isn't in the equation anymore. And it's not just me. There were some serious OG traders, much more experienced than myself, that were all saying that this looks shit as well. And despite all of that, despite my gut and my intuition telling me that it was going to puke, my system, which is stress tested over long scale, which I've tweaked over years, thousands of hours of screen time, endless back and forward testing, it told me not to be in the position, right? So it's as simple as that. We listen to our system, and it's all about just formulating this body of work that you can tweak slowly, incrementally, and gain a value and edge out of. So yeah, anyway, bit of a rant. Wanted to start on that note. What's up, Harry, Zaj, Kajos, Hassan? Hope you guys are well. Okay, so let's take it from the top. Ethereum. Let's go top down, as we did last week. Okay, nothing too notable on the monthly here. Also, we covered it last week, so there's not going to be too much to update there. Okay, so everyone getting super gassed up about ETH, right? And fine. 15% on the day here. Right, a spicy move. Fair enough. That being said, go to the weekly. Right, just zoom out a bit. Let's stay off the 5-minute dopamine chart. And so I think I pointed this out last stream, perhaps, if not on Twitter. But this for me is the key level. This is the line in the sand. I remember covering this, was it weeks ago, in this sort of area here. Again, a lot of people were getting gassed up in this area here about this breakout. People really getting stuck on that lower time frame source. But this breakout here, and I put a tweet out saying just zoom out and realize that this is the important level to crack, and it still is. Okay, super critical level on the charts in terms of interactions. Support broken down, come up and tested it as resistance, broken through, held here, tap down, support again, support here, broke down, held as resistance, and now we're just nearly approaching it to challenge it from the underside. So yeah, this is really where all of my eyes are. What is this? 2130, 2150s basically, give or take. And yeah, very, very important level to watch out for on ETH. So until we break past this and hold something like so, then there's really not too much to get excited about on the ETH standpoint. BTC, another picture entirely, but from an ETH perspective, line in the sands, 2150, give or take. And yeah, just keep this level on your weekly chart, lads, and keep an eye on it. If we do manage to hold above, then we can start having different conversations about ETH. But until then, this level's capping it to the underside. Okay, daily. Right, so still have that weekly level on here, and then we can also mark this daily level here, this daily high. Okay, so at current, we are approaching this daily high into that weekly level with speed. Okay, now, people that follow my style of trading and my systematic process know that as price approaches levels for potential sweeps, SFPs, stop hunts, whatever you want to call them, that there's much more likelihood that price will sweep, will SFP, if the move is fast. Okay. If we rattle down to these slightly lower time frames, before we do quickly, that's one thing to note, right? So very much set your alerts here, clock the reaction. We can go from there. But on the flip side, we also have a pocket of daily demand here, newly formed intra demand, which is a much better look for bulls, because everywhere in this area we haven't moved up and created a pocket of demand like we have here. So yes, we're approaching this level with speed. I'm not saying it will SFP. I'm saying that there are higher chances to do so if it approaches it with speed, just to clarify. But let's say that we do something like this, then there is also a possibility of this on the cards as well. I'm not saying that it will just completely nuke down to 1k ETH. Although, again, like I say, anything's a possibility. I'm looking for the signals, looking to action them, and playing into setups when they form, as opposed to rubbing the crystal ball. Just saying things as I see them here. Okay, so that's the weekly on the daily on ETH, sorry. And if we just scope down to the 1 hour here, talking of systems and actionable trades, there was indeed one here. Gutted because I missed it, as it wasn't my time. I was tucked up in bed. But as you can see here, this consolidatory patch on ETH, spanning 15 days. Wow. Then the breakout candle here. So this was an actionable trade and trigger within my breakout system, which is a system that I apply roughly 20% of the time I'm in the markets. 80% of the time I'm operating on my regular system. But this is an actionable trade here. Even if you go down to the 30-minute, perhaps could have taken this close here. But yeah, it's got all the hallmarks that you need really typically. It's pro trend to start. We have consolidation prior to the break in this area here. The only thing that would have made it slightly awkward to position into, despite the fact it occurred at 3 o'clock in the morning, is that it was quite a strong breakout candle here. But as you can see, the winds have carried it further onwards, and yeah, ETH looking very, very strong on the lower time frames at the least. What's up, BDC? How are you, man? Okay, cool. So yeah, we know what's happening on ETH. On the lower time frames, we are hyper overextended here. Looking at the hourly, probably the 4 hour as well. Yep. And yeah, for me, I'm looking for some sort of cool off, and then again alerts at the 2100s, seeing what occurs when we interact with that level is going to be critical, and going from there essentially. Okay. We could take a look at the delta as well. We're starting to accrue a fair bit of positive delta in this area here. That being said, we're now in the territory of trying to understand the delta dynamics a bit deeper. What I mean by that is we may be in a period of potential transition in the markets. And as a result, we can use the delta to give us clues and understand the market a bit deeper. I.e., in this area here, we had a good cluster of positive delta. Did it make price move lower? No, it just basically went sideways and crabbed for 15 days. Even a bit more positive delta here. None of it was able to push price lower, and then we broke out here. So, you know, are we going to see an immediate effect to the downside off the back of this positive delta? Not what I'm saying at all. It's just an observation, a simple observation of what's occurring on ETH. And just to skip over to another market, same thing on Sol. I covered this last week, so just saying for those who didn't see it, that, you know, basically all year long, the spikes of positive delta on Solana have massively capped price to the downside. Then we saw our first one here that didn't do so. Okay, and today we're seeing our second here. If these spikes or clusters of positive delta do fail to cap price to the downside, do fail to put in any impulse to the downside, then it really does give us strong clues about the market's intention. Okay, so it's not just about reading delta and saying, okay, positive delta nuke, negative delta pump. It's about reading into the delta further and just saying, what is price trying to do and how well is it doing it, essentially. So yeah, just some notes on the ETH side of things. We can move over to BTC now. Again, we can take it top down. So monthly looking lethal, right? The monthly is looking lethal here. The only counter to that sentiment is there is a potential, and I really want to stress, I mean potential, bearish divergence here on the monthly. Okay, so we could have something that occurs like so. Does that mean I'm shorting? No. Does that mean I'm actioning that? No. It's just a precursor, a thought of something that may develop. But again, generally speaking, not looking to fade this market. Very lethal, very strong. Like I said last stream, in a league of its own, in its own bull market. Yeah, you know, looking at if we just flick from monthly to monthly, huge disparity between BTC, ETH, and Solana, everything else, right? BTC still raging, still very much in a league of its own. Weekly, not too much to comment on here. Daily. Right, so the only counter argument here is that we're starting to see semblances of a awesome oscillator bearish divergence against price. That being said, take it with a pinch of salt, because we've also just done this. Okay, very key reclaim on the daily here. And if we scope down to the 12-hour, which was the time frame in question last stream, largely speaking, you know, we had this potential divergence, right? And I ran through how there was also in this area a 10-hour, an 8-hour, 6-hour, and a 4-hour divergences present, and all of those got invalidated. The 12-hour was the only one that stood when we spoke last week, and essentially what happened was we came down here and was pointing this out to members in my group, that the reset was an exact reset, right? So as we close this candle here, exact reset to the midpoint. And I think last stream we went through a bunch of higher time frame examples where we were looking at those exact resets. They are very technical points in the market and shouldn't be ignored. They are one of the most powerful elements of the RSI as an indicator, and that's saying a lot because I trade divergences as a heavy part of my system. But yeah, you can see the play out here. Again, you know, hands in the air, did not take the long, right? It was simply an observation. To have some sort of trigger, we would have needed to sweep and take out price down here, which didn't occur. So no trigger for me on the long side in terms of trading BTC. But we can see the play out of that 12-hour 50 RSI reset and now into the overextensions. So all in all, BTC is looking very, very strong. Like I said on the last stream, if BTC was to fail, it would have been within here. Okay, so similar to the delta dynamics, when we see positive delta, but price just marches upwards, when we see divergences and they're being invalidated, that takes us from a period of potential transition into now more confirmation of a trend. Okay, so it's listening to these subtle clues and signals that the market gives us, and adapting our trend-based strategy as a result. What I mean by that is you always want to favor the trend, and if you know which side to favor, which side to lean into, aka press the green button or press the red button, you're going to do a lot better. Okay, so I haven't taken a trade on BTC, I believe, in a long time, and the reason being, I said it on the last couple of streams, I believe, we were in this period of potential transition down here, and I know from past experience when to not press the buttons, and periods of transition are very much those indeed, because you know what you're going to get is essentially, well, what did happen is price sort of breaking out from these structures, right, as we're shifting from this downside, and then we get that bracketing range bound price action, and then we start busting to the upside. What normally happens is you start producing counter trend delta, right? So you start producing positive delta in this case as we're breaking out, which is indicative of market buying into limit asks. But essentially what it does is it produces a bunch of confusing signals in the market which aren't particularly actionable. And yeah, I mean, I've been scrolling through CT recently. I, generally speaking, have detoxed Twitter and gone cold turkey, given it up, I think about 6 months ago now. But was scrolling through, and just the amount of flip-flopping and different opinions I saw in this area was, and you know what everyone's like, man, like goldfish brains of CT, you know, in this area here, it was all over, right? Distribution done. And now we're back to bull market. I was literally just looking at Twitter 2 minutes ago before the stream, and everyone was like, alt season, alt season. We were right in the end, but those same people were calling for nothing here. So yeah, just be very, very careful who you listen to and all of that as well. I'm doing a full form video at the moment on trading psychology, and social media is a critical part of that, because yeah, it really does mess with your perception of yourself as a trader and of the markets, which is a double-edged sword in a negative way. But anyway, best advice to a lot of you that do trade better when you're following the trend is just take stock, take a minute. When we're in periods of potential transition, just take a beat and wait until we do get these more concrete signals, such as, you know, invalidation of divergences, listening to the delta dynamics, etc., etc. Because you don't have to catch the beginning of the move, right? You don't have to catch the beginning of that pivot at all. That's something I learned years ago. Always trying to catch that absolute pico moment in the markets where it reverses. And you just get churned up doing that, essentially. I was obsessed with that because my system is heavily reversal based, you know, delta, divergences, sweeps, etc., etc. But the sooner you can realize that you just don't have to be in position all the time, when to action and when not to action your trades, the sooner you'll generate a good edge in the markets. All right. Sol, we can take a look at Sol. What's good, V? How are you, my man? All right, let's strip this back. So I said last stream, and I keep referencing last stream, sorry. Sounding like a broken record here. But yeah, it's because I never really do 2 market analysis streams back to back, so I'm aware that I might be repeating myself in certain areas. But I said that the monthly looks like one of the tastiest charts in crypto. Reset here on the RSI, monthly SFP, a sort of pin bar candle here as well, and all in all looking very, very interesting on the higher time frames. And we're starting to get a semblance of a push away on Sol. I believe we're up a nice amount on the daily here. Yeah, 9%. Not quite ETH, but still decent innings for Sol. We go down to the weekly. Not too much to note here. Yeah, and like I covered previously, very much looking for the interaction at this level, and we'll see where we go from there. Daily RSI still in a relatively decent picture, even though it's scratching at the 70s here. Not completely overextended. Nice reset, even though not exact. We came down to the 53s here to generate nice steam for this move up, and we even got a small trend line break in here. So all in all, Solana looking healthy. I've already covered the delta, okay, so we don't need to run through that. Okay, we can just go through some more markets here. I'll go through some of the high caps, some of the markets that I'm looking at of particular interest. I know I keep banging on about hype. Still got my eyes on hype very much at the moment. So let's strip this back. Okay, so 12-hour basic range here. You've got the high, the EQ, and the low. And yeah, this, I believe we were sort of at this point here last time we caught up, which was obviously looking very spicy. But now even more so. Okay, now even more so, because if we go down to the 4-hour, actually, let's just go back to, yeah, so let's just like mark every level that we can find here. So this looks nice to me, mainly because we're looking at the interaction of the bodies here on the daily and here. And you can see price coming down and retesting it. We've of course got the initial 12-hour range that we're looking at there as well. Scoping down to the 4-hour, we have this sort of level here. Okay, so if we take it from there, and yes, for SR, I'm using a combination of wicks up here and bodies here. That's fine. I don't adhere to strict rules in any of my charting principles, whether that's, you know, people say you have to take the first swing high and the first swing low of the formation of the move to mark a range. I don't care about that. Whatever fits the chart the best and looks the best to me is what I roll with. Similar for SR. And even with divergences, I don't adhere to strict rules in terms of it spanning too long by so many bars, etc., etc. So I like to be a bit more fluid in my analysis and my approach. And yeah, this is a decent level on the 4-hour for me. And then you scope down to the 1-hour, and you can see that we've even got this level in here. Oh, it's a very similar level here. I'm just going to remove this for argument's sake so we can see the hourly time frame in a bit more clarity. But this looks great as well. Okay, so we've got everything from 12-hour and daily to 4-hour, hourly, etc., etc. And we've had this hourly breakout today of this micro range as we're coming and sort of marching upwards through these levels. And again, all the hallmarks. Okay, we've got consolidation prior to the breakout. We've got really nice RSI action here. Even where the RSI is at current is juicy, right? We're breaking out. We've had a solid retest. We're marching higher, and we are hovering within that mid region of the RSI. We are not overextended by any means. And yes, we have a slight divergence on the AO, but the RSI looking super healthy. So prefer to lean into that in terms of analysis as much as possible. And you have to understand when you're playing breakouts, right, which is something that you may have to get more familiar with again if the market carries on the way that it does and BTC really picks up the rest of the market, that you're always going to have, counter trend arguments to your trade, or almost always, right? It's very rare to have a breakout trade where there's not one sore thumb sticking in the way of your position, such as this awesome oscillator slight semi-divergence that we've got going on, even though it's not fully formed or conditioned yet. Like you're always going to have some sort of counter trend signal, so you have to balance that. Like I've often said with Delta on BTC, you're going to see some delta, right? If we break out of a key level, you're going to see some delta because there are going to be a tranche of people that do have limit asks there. And as a result, there will be some delta production. The way that you need to think about it is it just can't be massively outsized, okay? So it has to be relative delta. You have to be looking at it and going, okay, cool, there is some delta here, but not too much. And we've got X, Y, and Z confluence on the charts. We've got a clean horizontal level that we're breaking out of. We've got the general higher time frame market trend in our favor, sentiment, etc., however you want to look at it. But yeah, essentially don't get too wrapped up in the counter trend signals. Let the trend carry you as much as possible, and also scroll through different time frames as well, right? So even if you're actioning this 1 hour trade here, like look at the 4 hour, okay? So yeah, that was just a guess, but the RSI again in a very similar point here, pretty much exactly the same position on the RSI, super healthy. And if you scope through different time frames and go, okay, cool, the 1 hour, the 2 hour, and the 4 hour all have steam left in them on the RSI for some upside. We're not longing into hyper overextensions. We have broken out of this hourly micro range here as we've reclaimed this daily level. Well within that range, the 12-hour range we were looking at from before, and then you can start to weave together more of an argument to start being in position. Now, I am in spot on hype from 19.5s in this sort of area here. Where was it? I believe I started scaling in here and a bit more so here. And looking to cut that if we lose sort of this daily level is now going to be a level that I'm going to work around in terms of my spot position. And then, of course, the 12-hour range lows as well. So, yeah, in spot hype, and also have taken position today on the trade that I'm talking you through from here. So, yeah, trading hype, spot allocated as well. And yeah, let's see how we go. It's been a market I've had my eyes on for some time, and really liking the dynamics of how it's moving. This may look like a very ambitious, boisterous trade. Some would say irresponsible. Fine, but those of you, especially members in my group and students that I've worked with, know that normally I roll with very, very wide stops, right? Such as this, maybe something like that. But this was, I was technically allowed to do this as per my system. Again, I don't make the rules anymore, right? My system does for me. And stop placement within my parameters is the other side of technical consolidation, which is here on the time frame that I'm operating on, which is the hourly. So yes, it looks like a tight stop, which essentially it is, right? It's, what have we got here? Yeah, it's a 4.3%, which is fine, tighter than my normal stopping distance. But again, my usual trades, or the trades of late, the last few months, have been pivot trades, reversal trades. And those are more often than not, 90% of the time, divergence trades, whereby I'm looking to have wide stops, I'm looking to build into positions. So again, it's not me, going, I've been looking at hype for weeks. I'm locked into this market. I feel like it's going to go much higher. I've been waiting this long, so I deserve to have a big size on this position. None of that, right? I'm not thinking emotionally or acting emotionally. I'm acting as per my system's telling me to act, right? And in this case, it's an hourly breakout. Yes, I have confidence on the reclaims of the daily level, 12-hour range, 4-hour picture as well. But yeah, I'm acting completely systematically and in accordance with my system. All right. Fart. Yes, I just laughed at the word fart, and I'm 33 years old. Hands in the air. Okay, so yeah, looking pretty good here, to be honest. Again, a lot of this on the timeline recently. FARTCOIN going back to zero, told you so, blah blah blah. Going back to the daily, we're doing stuff like this. Okay. Really clean on the RSI. Okay, those interactions with the midpoint, even if it's not exact, are exactly what you want to be seeing for sustained uptrends. So yeah, healthy RSI daily picture here. And then moving on to the slightly lower time frames. We can see that we've got a sweep here. So nice 12-hour pin bar on the sweep to the downside. And we're starting to see the reaction off the back of that. Okay. So in terms of approaching the markets at the moment, it's probably going to serve you some good to set up some overlay charts, some spaghetti charts, really try and pick out the strongest markets, curate a watch list of those, and then just start stalking setups on those markets. For instance, setting an alert here. You can start diving down to the lower time frames if you're doing it in that manner. See if there was anything particularly actionable here. Not as per my system, but anyway, good to keep an eye on the stronger markets. Obviously, you want to be focusing on the stronger markets at the moment, and seeing those that are, in more relative uptrends than the rest of the market. For instance, your FARTCOINs, your hypes, etc., etc. Your XRPs, goes without saying. So weekly and just in a super strong position here, right? Just dancing off the midpoint. Yeah, looking goated, super goated here. again, this is without a doubt one of the best markets you can focus on if we start to really move into bullish conditions again, market wide. Not only that, if you do trade with a bit more size, you know, not only is it one of the strongest markets, but it's not a raging low cap, right? You can squeeze nice size into trading Ripple as well, and it trades super technically, right? So weekly off that, bouncing off that mid, daily taking out this low here into daily demand. So yeah, good to keep an eye on all of this sort of stuff. Let's see if we can work with any breakout levels. By the way, can one of you tell me if the music levels are okay today? Someone said that they were a bit off last time, so I've tweaked them. So again, this would have been a valid trade, okay? Things may start to get very simple again, okay? And I'm not going to bore you guys with my approach to trend lines. All I'll say is when the markets are more directional, lower your confluence, and when they're less directional, increase your confluence. What I mean by that is if we start raging upwards, if we do get this proclaimed alt season that everyone's been waiting decades for, then play into that momentum, man. Like, play into that momentum all day long, because you will have such ripe trading conditions that are so simple. It will just be simple diagonal breaks, and don't overthink it, right? Because again, just treat it in a linear scale. That relationship of confluence and trend will serve you so well. Okay, it will serve you so well in all areas of the market, whether that's hyperdirectional, bracketing, low volatility periods, whatever it is. BNB, again, another very, very strong market on the higher time frames. Outrageously so, to be honest. Looking at both of these, probably be core focuses of mine going forward. Let's clean this up a bit. Hardly can hear music, so good. Damn, not what I'm going for, but glad you're enjoying it. Okay, so there's not really too much to draw on the charts here from the weekly no clear levels really that we can mark up. Daily, right? What can you all see here on the daily? Any guesses as for what I'm about to draw? Yeah. Interesting position indeed for BNB here. And we've also got that. So here we've got that trend line. Also got the reclaim of the mid here as well. 12-hour picture. Also looking decent. Four-hour taking out this high. May need some cooling off as it's overextended as well. But all in all, you know, before you get wrapped up in stuff like this, for instance, this is a classic thing. Okay, so we may find a divergence down here on the lower time frames. Okay, not even. Right, not even. But yeah, just a note to not get too wrapped up in this sort of stuff and just do this as much as possible. Okay, just remind yourselves of what these markets look like on the higher time frames. Despite all of the alts being absolutely decimated. Okay, so yeah, it's something that I say over and over again. You know, don't look to short the strong markets, look to long them. Simple as that, right? If you want to short something, short 99% of your watch list. It doesn't look like that, okay? And it's something that I was going through with some of the very strong markets as of late, those outliers, you know, taking out key levels with divergences. So I'm just telling myself, like, you know, you don't need to action this, right? Like, there's much weaker markets that you can try and short. Anyway, Doge, talking of, yeah, Doge isn't even one of the worst of them, to be honest. Nice interaction here. But again, it's not one of those markets that I'd be looking to position into for the spot or long side, simply because of its higher time frame picture. That's PPADA. Haven't checked out this market in a long time. It's funny looking at all of these, right? Because they still do have their higher time frame bullish market structures intact. High, low, high, 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 low, perhaps. Right, it's an argument that could be made though. TRX has also been super strong. I mean, look at this. His Excellency himself, right? Very organic, very organic high time frame price action here. Much demand. But again, you know, just green light these and just say, right, okay, cool. So these should be the markets that I'm honing in on. And then just go laser vision, right? What else are we looking at? BNB. And then you can start going down to the lower time frames, right? And trying to play into that momentum of the higher time frames using lower time frame triggers. Realistically, if we do get a bull market, a proper bull market, board wide, you only need a select few markets to look at from a trading perspective, okay? I know most of you degens, we're probably scanning 500 charts a day, and I'm probably going to join you. But it's still, you know, that truth still stands, that you can just mark out a select handful of the most bullish high market cap coins and simply focus on those and do very well. Interesting level here, although I do not like this, right? This small cluster of supply here. That being said, the daily is in a very strong position here, right? Super strong. It's just been hugging this mid for the last 3 weeks, and now challenging this level here. So a good look for TRX. I mean, this is an insane move here, but again, gives us more argument for upside because here, fair enough, no, but this is just a massive inefficiency on the daily, right? 30% inefficiency. If we do start challenging up past this area, then this should be quite easy to run through. And the daily in a very nice spot. Okay, even the weekly RSI looking super nice here. You can see that exact tap to the 50 level down here back in March, and looks very nice, even from a sort of spot side. All the RSIs, if we look at the 3-day, yeah, I mean, higher time frame RSIs all lining up here and starting to look very favorable. 4 hour in the overextended regions, but the higher time frames looking great here. Really nice. Sui. We've had some big moves today on Sui. Again, a nice higher time frame chart here, right? A nice higher time frame chart. Down into this weekly demand zone, weekly intra demand, and very strong reaction off the back of it. Local sweep, and now a very, very strong push indeed from Sui. You can meme some sort of line like this on as well. But regardless, yeah, tap into higher time frame demand, push away. Obviously, we have this occurring on the RSI and the AO, which is certainly a cause for concern on the shorter time frames. But again, we always have to take presidency of the higher time frames, right? And understand that the higher time frame signals cast much more validity on the markets. And the weekly picture here is just straight fire, right? Move into weekly demand, taking out local low here, reclaim of the 50 level here. And you can see that basically throughout all of this bullish momentum here, we were above the mid. Okay, so all of this, even down to here, right? So upon breaking out here, all of this above the mid. Then as we started to come down, this higher time frame correction, dipping past the 50 level there, so dipping back under. And now we've essentially deviated that midpoint, reclaiming it with a lot of strength. And looking ferocious. So anyway, I just plucked out some of the, I think it was the top 10 basically that I pulled from CoinGecko to sort of put together this watch list. And as you can see, the higher caps are indeed doing really well. If this does indeed spiral and culminate into an explosive bull market, then essentially what you're likely to see is that trickle down effect through the market caps, i.e. BTC rages on, and then it goes through the top 10, as we're seeing, being some of the strongest markets here. So I'd focus your efforts on, even if you're not going to pick out a handful, focus on the higher caps and those markets that are starting to move first. Mark out key levels, look to play into the trend, of course. You're looking for sweeps to the downside, breakouts to the upside, whether that's horizontal or diagonal, and then of course taps down into intra-demand zones as price marches upwards. So yeah, a lot going on in the markets. We'll have to see how everything unravels. Any questions for me before I clock off? I appreciate the love from India, MD. No? PLTR, what you got in Boomerland? Nah, gave up that venture, FM. I'll tell you more about that in DMs, but we're simply I'm just too overworked at the moment to make that jump over. Yeah, need to focus on what's going on here and also producing great content for all of you, which I've committed myself to now. Anyway, guys, I have a wife and baby girl I need to attend to, so it's time for me to hop out of trader mode and go into dad mode, cooking mode, and put some food on the table. So yeah, take care, guys, and I'll catch you